Thanks a lot for joining us for an interview, and it's really a weekend, so you'll be busy with all the Void Wars and stuff, and I really appreciate for all the time that you have given for this interview. I'm sure that the viewers will learn a lot from your interview, so I'm really glad, and thanks a lot again for your time.
Hey, just glad to be here and able to share my experience with anyone that wants to hear it.
How long have you been playing War and Order?
Yeah, so I've been playing for just under 2 years now.
And out of all these 2 years, I know you had this alliance called SIC in Realm 3, and that's the biggest alliance in the realm with a lot of successes. So I would like to hear about the journey. For the last 2 years, did you start from SIC or all the way through SIC? Or can you also walk us through on how SIC went through for the last couple of years and where it is right now from where it was in the past?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different than how we started.
Yeah.
So the initial core of the players that I play with at SIC rainmakers, we all come from a different game prior to War and Order. We played a game called Deadwalk for just over 2 years, actually. And then when the servers closed down, we migrated to War and Order. And from there, we created Rainmakers, and SIC was another league in Realm 3. After a few months, we merged together and became SIC Rainmakers, and been accumulating players and trying to kind of, create this very strong alliance that enables us to compete in every single event that the devs and developers kind of throw at us.
The SIC, you said what you have right now and what you had like a year ago. So do you want to have a shout out to any players that being with you for pretty long in SIC?
Yeah, so I mean, NSZ and Nikki, they've been with me for nearly 5 years now, playing together. Same with Jew33, Necrophagist, Hiccup, Bugtastic. There's quite a few. There's about 50 of us still playing together.
Yeah.
That we've been together for nearly 5 years playing. So it's tough to kind of shout out to all of them, but just any original Rainmakers, they know who they are.
Yeah, I think it's what makes the alliance, right? It's the people, and I think you've been on the top for pretty long, and I've seen all the successes that your alliance have gone through. So I'm pretty sure it's all because of the people and then the commitment they put into the game. So really, I think the shout out is really should be given to them. And yeah, you have to give shout out to everybody in the alliance. So we don't have time for that, but yeah, all the important ones definitely. Good. And so what is it like managing the biggest alliance in the region? Is that any different from managing, say, any other alliance in the region which is not the top? So is there any difference?
I wouldn't say, especially being in Realm 3, I wouldn't say there's any difference between first, second, and third. The fact that we are able to work together makes any event we do exciting, because we always have a chance to win. Whether it's World Wars, Savage Lands, Realm versus Realm, Elite Wars, doesn't matter what the event is, because of our ability to work together, it always gives us a chance to win and be competitive. And I think that's what keeps it so exciting, is that, no matter what happens, there's always a chance. And so players believe in that. They believe in the system we've created for ourselves. And, it wasn't always like this. Realm 3 was a very worn-torn realm for the first year.
Yep.
And it wasn't until the first realm event came out that, we tried to create this, harmony amongst ourselves. And even now, it's not perfect. We have our squabbles and there are issues here and there, but for the most part, we're able to kind of come together for round 3. And, what's made it successful is our ability to bring in other talent. So I'm sure you've heard of the global line chat group we have.
Yeah.
On line chat with, it's got 500 people in it. And, we've managed to attract talents such as, Madar from Realm 2, Zinc from Realm 11, Bunny Killer from Realm 31, Poopy Baron and some of his players from Realm 193, Goldbelt King and his friends Nemi and a few others from Realm 274. So it's this ability to attract these players that are coming to the game fresh,
Yep.
and wanting to come and play in Realm 3 and play with us and learn from us. That's what's kept it, so fresh and so exciting and continually competitive, because we're always recruiting, we're always bringing in other players that didn't start in Realm 3.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, I think it's again how much of the fresh blood comes into the game as well makes a big difference, right? Especially in the realm. Be it they go to SIC or going to other alliances in the realm, that they'll make some changes and then it adds some variety to the mix. Otherwise, we'll be stuck in all the friendship and then it kind of dies. But yeah, that's a good idea where you can kind of mix it up with other realms, and when people come in and play, that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And, AOK has done very similar things. Mini and some of his players from Realm 4, Dust to Dust, I'm not quite sure what realm he's from, but I know a few of his players have come with him too. So, it's the same on both fronts, where we've managed to attract the talent and these new players because they hear of us and they hear about our, 100% success rate in Void War. And, we're one of the top alliances in Realm versus Realm. So players always want to, be where they're on top and they're competing and they're at the top level.
And you talked about a lot of players coming in from different realms, and obviously there'll be a lot of personality clash, right? So you're dealing with people from everywhere around the world, and as a leader and being the leader of the biggest alliance, what are some of the challenges that you face and how do you overcome? So this will help any other leaders or wannabe leaders that they are building their alliance.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on it earlier, keeping things fresh within the alliance. A lot of us have been playing for over 2 years now, and so the daily grind can sometimes be daunting for everyone. So we try and keep things, engaging and exciting. So we do interleague events to kind of push each other in a friendly competition. And then the fact that, every event that we do, we garner success, like the Void War, going 7-0, Realm versus Realm, spending over a year as the #1 alliance and server. I mean, that helps keep players engaged by, continually winning and having success.
That's definitely a great tip. Yeah. So I think any leader who are struggling, I think, can follow that and see if that works for them. And again, it could be different for different type of alliances, but anything, as long as you have a baseline to start with.
Yeah, and like I said, you don't just have to follow the events that the devs put out. We do donation events. We have our own individual kill events, and we have growth events.
Mm-hmm.
Who can go the longest doing like some sort of task, right? So having those interleague events that we host ourselves as the R4s and R5s,
yep,
it helps keep the players, engaged and excited when it's not an event week.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great idea. What do you think, there are any changes in the game-wise? I think we talked about the changes in the alliance, we talked about the challenges in the leadership, and now we talk about the game. So in the last 2 years, in a couple of years, do you think the game has changed? And are these changes exciting people, or do you think it's another rabbit out of the hat?
No, I think it's exciting for players that see all these new events coming out. Especially for us in Round 3, it gets kind of boring's not the right word, but maybe dull, constantly playing against the same people.
Mm-hmm.
So when you start introducing new realm events and you get to face different realms, different players, you get to see new styles and how different servers run different events and how they fight and how they attack and their ratios and formations and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool getting to study that and see it. And so that to me keeps it really exciting with all these different realm events that happen.
Okay, that makes sense. And talking about the game aspect itself, so I've played many of these games before, and obviously these kind of games have the life cycle. So it one day it'll actually end, or if the team goes really does really good things like Camel Games, I really admire them because they try to do something on a regular basis and then they keep coming back with something new to keep this game alive. But it also have to reciprocate from the players as well to the developers, right? So, for instance, I really don't know. I haven't cracked this theory yet, but I have a couple of questions on this topic for you so that I can get your opinion. Number one, do you think within the realm, is it healthy to have peace, or is it good to have some war here and there so that you kind of spend your troops and rebuild? That's question number one. And question number 2 is the mergers of realm. Is it really it will make the progress, or it'll actually deteriorate and then we'll go back? So these are the 2 questions that I always wanted some opinion from everybody.
Yeah, and with the first question, I think it's important to have war at first.
Mm-hmm.
It allows you to test. It allows you to, find different strategies that work for you. And, war kind of breeds that competition, and competition, I find, can bring out the best in people. And that kind of ties into the second part with the mergers, is that, when realms start to merge together, that's going to create more buzz, it's going to create more activity, and players are going to be more interested because now there's things that can happen at any moment. Like, a flash attack can happen within seconds. A time attack can happen at any given time. So, keeping you on your toes and having that competition, I think, is what drives a lot of players. It allows them to motivate them to grow faster with their castle levels, maybe farm other farms, and whatever the case is. Mm-hmm. So I think that ability to have constant competition, pushes players to the next level, and it helps bring out the best in everybody, and it constantly pushes new ideas.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I was so worried, like, as you mentioned earlier, the first year in Realm 3 was like Warzone 24/7. You won't believe I was under the bubble for almost a year. So I've been spending all the gems. So I think you're right. I mean, just go out and play the war and test some of your strategies if it's working or not. Yeah, that makes real sense. And you brought in the right topic at the right time. So now I want to tap your brain to get some of your tips to the new players and also other players on some of the things that you do in your game. First question is, what's your favorite troop type? I know you would use different troop type for different purposes, but is there anything that you favorite the most, and then why do you do that?
Yeah, so for me, it's archers. Mm-hmm. To me, they are the absolute perfect attacking unit. And, rainmakers and SIC, like, we've kind of grown the reputation of being very aggressive. So having a very high focus on archers helps a lot. A lot of castles have tons of mages and infantry for defense. So, when you have even tier archers, they have that bonus damage to infantry, while odd tier archers have that bonus to mages. So we're able to counter the best defensive units by having the best offensive units.
And Elite Wars, this is one of the events that I would say everybody love to play. If the time zone kind of matches with them. So time zone is always a problem with bigger alliances where you have some from Asia and some from Europe and so on. But Elite Wars is everybody's favorite. Any tips to the smaller alliance and players that you want to give to make it better for them?
Yeah, Elite Wars can be a lot of fun. One of the big things that I would tell alliances, especially starting off, we're facing a lot of alliances that, players have multiple accounts in the same league.
Wow.
So they're playing 2, sometimes 3 accounts per one person. So one thing I find helps a lot is creating movement within castles. So you don't just, everyone goes to, castle 8, gathers there, and then goes from 8 to 10, moving lateral, moving from castle to 7 to attack castle 11, moving castles multiple times to force your enemy to, log in and log out to multiple accounts. It won't allow them to gather all of their, inactive accounts all in one castle to create, this inflated sense of defenders. And so by moving, laterally across the map allows you to get all of your active players against all their active players and takes away their inactives from gathering up in one castle to have them have a bigger defender's advantage. So I would say creating movement is a big thing. Mm-hmm. And then the second tip I would have for anyone playing Elite Wars for the first time, don't worry about, rushing into that first attack and being aggressive in the first 5 minutes. You'd be amazed what you can do in 45 minutes in an Elite War. So, patience is another thing that I would, tell a lot of players for, those Elite Wars is you don't have to win in the first 5 minutes. You get 45 minutes for a reason.
And tips on overall game. So we talked about Elite Wars, and any new player starting to play War and Order, what would be your tips? What should they focus?
For me, it's monsters, They give materials for building gears and emblems. They give you resource boxes that you can store that can't be plundered. They give you lore experience that allows allows you to level up really quickly, to give you better stats for whatever you want to do. I remember, so I've been playing so long now that C30 used to be the highest level you could go. And I went from C29 to C30 without having to hit a single farm because I had all my res boxes saved from hitting monsters.
Wow.
So, yeah, so, I had hundreds of millions of resources just hidden away in those little 3,000 food and wood and 1,000 stone and 500 iron boxes. So really, like, for any new players, start grinding those monsters because they really make a big difference in the long term. Like, you don't have to spend a lot of money to have a high lord level, and you don't have to have 10 farms in order to, advance cast levels very fast. If you can hit monsters and get the right formations, like, that will make a big difference for you.
Yeah, that's actually inspiring me. I should start doing that. I only do that during the event, and I farm like crazy. I just go and find the tiles and farm for almost 1.5 years. I'm doing that. So that's something that I should try. So probably, hit the monsters every hour, every day 1 hour, and start gathering some resources. That's a great tip.
Yeah, you can probably get to about 40 monsters a day just through natural stamina growth and regeneration. So, like, think about it, right? If you're hitting level 29 monsters, I mean, that's 1,300 lore experience times 40 a day, plus your daily rulies, plus your rebel camp, plus your royal challenge if you're C30. I mean, all those lore experience, little bits start to add up, and next thing you know, you're getting 100,000 lore experience a day.
Yeah,
like it's massive.
Agreed. Yeah, that's really, really a good tip. And on the game itself, the developers, do you have any feedback that you want to provide to Camel Games that they should do to improve the game?
Feedback for Camel, like, really, I'm sure this is the bane of all players, but, trying to improve on their servers. I find with a lot of events, lag is a massive issue. And, I think right now, like, obviously it'd be nice to have new events, but I think it'd be really, really crucial for Camel, and I think it'd be really cool if they can improve upon their servers. That way, the events they do have can run smoother, and there's a bit more fluidity to their events. So that way, when you're doing an elite war, you're doing a savage land, things pop up on time, and you don't have this 10-second gap between marches and things of that nature. So I think if Camel can improve their infrastructure and provide a smoother gameplay through their servers and making them more powerful, I think that would keep players around a lot longer. I've had players quit because, there was lag and they lost all of their troops from this little lag because they didn't see something happen. And that can be an extremely frustrating thing when you see a month's worth of troop training just gone because of something you couldn't control.
That makes sense. And anything that they do really well that you want them to continue doing?
I like the ranking systems with Elite War and with the Realm versus Realm and Void Wars. I like how you can kind of see where you stand. And I like the direction they're going with all these Realm events. So, if they can start doing that and maybe, putting a bit more of urgency on those realm mergers. So I know realm 3 is not doing so bad, but I have a lot of players that I've talked with in the global chat where there's maybe 50 players left in their realm and they're just hanging around hoping for those realm mergers. So if they can kind of get that urgency under their priority, that'd be really awesome to start seeing some movement with those realm mergers and some realm events.
That makes sense. And we're almost at the end of this interview. Before we conclude, is there any final thoughts that you want to register?
Good luck to Realm 139 because we're facing them tomorrow in Void War. So, I want to give a shout out to them and every other realm we fought in the past. Realm 27, Realm 2, 4, 24. Forget the last one. But we've had some really fun battles and some really cool engagements between every realm we faced so far. I hope that continues. And for Realm 139, good luck. And I hope we can just have some fun this weekend and just really see the enjoyment in our play styles and learn something from each other.
Makes sense. And I would really thank you again for your time. It's been a real pleasure for me to have this wonderful chat with you. And I'm 100% sure that a lot of people would learn a lot from you. There have been fantastic tips that you provided. And I wish you and your alliance all the best for the future. And we'll stay in touch. Maybe 3 months down the line, if any changes happens in the game, we'll do this again. And thank you again for your time.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime, and anything pops up, players are more than welcome to reach out to me. And if a big thing comes up in the future, would love to talk about it. And yeah, if to anyone that's interested in round 3, we're always looking. Yeah, no, we're gonna make it rain this weekend, so watch out.